The moment I saw those photos, my hands began to tremble, and I understood instantly why he told me to come alone. Because the secret they revealed was so dark, so devastating, it had the power to destroy my daughter's marriage from the very beginning. Before I start the story, I want to get to know you too. Write the flag colors of the country you're watching from, and I'll try to guess. Who knows? Maybe we're neighbors. It was an ordinary Thursday afternoon when the wedding photographer called, his voice shaky, asking me to come to his studio immediately. "Mrs. Green, I found something terrible in the wedding photos. Come to the studio right now." Those were his exact words. My heart started racing. What kind of secret could be hidden in those images from my daughter's happiest day? What I was about to discover would change everything and make me question whether the wedding I paid $12,000 for had been real at all. The phone rang while I was watering the orchids on my Baltimore apartment balcony. September in Maryland, that humid heat that sticks to your skin like a second layer. I thought about not answering. Unknown number, probably telemarketing, but something made me pick up the phone. "Hello, Mrs. Green?" The male voice sounded nervous, almost whispering. "This is Kendrick Lowe. I was the photographer for Imani's wedding 4 months ago." My chest tightened immediately. Memories of that day flooded back in flashes. Imani radiant in her white dress, Jamal smiling beside her, guests applauding. $8,200 I had saved for years to give my daughter the wedding of her dreams. "Yes, I remember you. Is there something wrong with the photos?" Silence on the other end. Then the voice continued, even lower. "Ma'am, I need to speak with you in person. I found something in the images, something very serious. Please come to my studio tomorrow morning and don't mention anything to Imani. It's important." I felt my hands trembling. "What kind of thing? Tell me now." "I can't explain it over the phone. Tomorrow at 9. The address is downtown Richmond. Please, Mrs. Green, come alone." He hung up before I could ask anything else. I stood there with the watering can still in my hand, water running over the plants and forming a puddle on the balcony floor. My heart was beating out of control. What had he found in those photos? I tried to concentrate on the rest of the day, but it was impossible. I prepared dinner on autopilot, rice, beans, grilled chicken, but barely tasted the food. Imani called that evening, like she did 3 times a week since getting married. "Mom, are you okay? Your voice sounds strange." "I'm fine, sweetheart, just a little tired." The lie came out too easily. "How are things going over there?" She talked about her work at the real estate office, about plans to remodel the kitchen in their apartment, about how excited Jamal was about a promotion. Her voice overflowed with happiness. Each word was like a dagger in my chest, because I knew I was hiding something. Something the photographer considered so serious he couldn't even mention it on the phone. When I hung up, I went to the living room closet and took out the wedding album. I spent more than an hour analyzing every photo. Imani and Jamal cutting the cake, the first dance, the bouquet toss, everything looked perfect. So what had Kendrick seen? I slept poorly. Confusing nightmares woke me 3 times during the early hours. In one of them, Jamal had a different face in the photos. In another, Imani was crying at the altar. I woke up at 6 in the morning with a dry mouth and queasy stomach. I showered, put on simple clothes, jeans and a blue blouse, and left the house at 8:30. Kendrick's studio was downtown, in one of those renovated old buildings with exposed brick walls and huge windows. The discreet sign next to the door read, "Lowe Photography." I took a deep breath before ringing the bell. Kendrick received me personally. He was younger than I remembered from the wedding. Early 30s, dark hair, tired eyes. It looked like he hadn't slept well either. "Mrs. Green, thank you for coming." He looked around as if checking that no one was watching us and quickly closed the door. "Please, come with me." We walked down a narrow hallway to a room in the back. Photography equipment occupied the shelves. A huge computer dominated the central table. Kendrick pulled a chair over for me and sat in front of the monitor. Before I show you what I found, I want you to know that I thought about it a lot before calling you. I spent weeks in doubt, but if I were in your position, I would want to know the truth. My stomach churned. Show me already. He clicked several times, the screen filled with thumbnails, wedding photos I already knew. Then he opened a specific folder. These are images I took during preparations before the ceremony. I arrived early to test the lighting, adjust the equipment. Kendrick opened a photo. My blood froze. It was Jamal, the son-in-law I had helped choose a suit for, the man who swore to love my daughter forever. He was in one of the reception hall corridors, still without his jacket, tie loose, and he was kissing another woman. It wasn't a greeting kiss. It was intimate, deep. His hands tangled in her blonde hair, her arms around his neck, the posture of two lovers who knew each other very well. When was this? My voice came out hoarse. Kendrick enlarged the image and pointed to the bottom corner. The metadata doesn't lie. Date, exact time, even GPS location. 2 hours and 15 minutes before the ceremony began. 2 hours, while Imani was at the beauty salon getting her hair done, while I was adjusting the final details with the wedding planner. Jamal was there, cheating on my daughter before even marrying her. There's more, Kendrick said quietly, and clicked to the next photo. Another angle, Jamal and the blonde woman embracing. In this image, you could see her face clearly. Pretty, about 30 years old, impeccable makeup, and on her finger, impossible not to notice, a wedding ring. I felt the world spinning. I grabbed the edge of the table to keep from falling. Who is she? I managed to ask. I have no idea. I checked the guest list they gave me. She wasn't on it. I think she wasn't invited to the wedding. Kendrick opened 3 more photos. All showed Jamal and the blonde woman together, in positions that left no doubt. This wasn't a casual encounter. It was planned, calculated, intimate.
Why were you photographing in that hallway? My voice sounded distant, like it belonged to someone else. I was testing different angles, playing with natural light. I captured these images by chance through a window. When I realized what I had photographed, I was shocked. He looked at me seriously. Mrs. Green, I've been a professional photographer for 10 years. I've seen many things, but this, marrying someone while betraying them hours before, this is different. I swallowed hard. Are you absolutely certain these photos are real? That there's no error in the date? Kendrick opened a technical window on the computer. Numbers, codes, information I barely understood. This is the EXIF data from the file. Date, time, GPS coordinates, camera model, settings. It's impossible to fake this convincingly. These photos were taken exactly when and where I said. He pulled a USB drive from a drawer. I copied everything here. The original photos, the metadata, the technical documentation. It would be accepted as evidence in any court. It's yours now. Do whatever you think is best. I took the USB drive with trembling hands and put it in my purse. My mind was spinning. Why? Why would Jamal do this? Why marry Imani if he had another woman? A married woman with whom he was having an affair? The answer came slowly, cold as ice melting down my spine. Money. Jamal always talked about the future,
about investments, about how they needed to build a solid financial foundation. It was his idea for guests to give cash gifts instead of physical objects. It's more practical, Mrs. Green. We can use it for the apartment down payment. They collected $8,200 in gifts, Imani told me excitedly a few days after the wedding. $8,200 that now made perfect sense as motivation. Mrs. Green? Kendrick's voice brought me back. Is there anything else I can do? I stood up slowly. My legs felt like lead. You've already done a lot. Thank you for telling me. I know it wasn't easy. He walked me to the door. I'm truly sorry. I really am. I left the studio under bright sun that contrasted with the cold I felt inside. I got in my car, but didn't start the engine. I sat there gripping the steering wheel, trying to breathe. My daughter, my Imani. How was I going to tell her this? I drove aimlessly for almost an hour. I passed by Inner Harbor, where tourists walked carefree. I went up to Federal Hill, from where you could see the entire city. At no point could I stop thinking about the photos, about Jamal's betrayal, about Imani's naivete. I returned home around noon. The apartment was too quiet. I put the USB drive on the kitchen table and stared at that tiny object that carried a bomb capable of destroying my daughter's life. Did she know? The question tormented me for the rest of the day. Was it possible that Imani knew about Jamal's affair and had accepted it anyway? No. I knew my daughter. She was truly in love with him. Her eyes lit up when she talked about her husband. The wedding hadn't been a farce for her, but for him. I opened my laptop and inserted the USB drive. The photos appeared on the screen, enlarged, cruel in their clarity. Jamal and the blonde woman, the kiss, the embrace, the obvious intimacy between two lovers. I thought about calling Imani immediately, sending her the photos, exposing the truth, but something stopped me. I needed to understand the situation better before acting. I needed more information. I picked up the phone and called my sister Tanya. She lived in Philadelphia, but she had always been my confidant. She answered on the third ring. Marcia, what a nice surprise. Tanya, I need to talk to you. It's serious. The tone of my voice must have made it clear this wasn't a social call. She was quiet for a moment. What happened? I told her everything. The photographer's call, the photos, the blonde woman, the ring on her finger, the timing, 2 hours before the ceremony. Tanya listened without interrupting. When I finished, she sighed deeply. My God, Marcia, I don't even have words. I don't know what to do. How am I going to tell Imani? You have to tell her. She has the right to know who she married. Tanya's voice was firm. But before that, you need to investigate a little more. Find out who this woman is. Understand what's really happening. How do I do that? Do you know any of Jamal's friends? Anyone who might know something? I thought. Jamal had few close friends. He was closed off, reserved. At the wedding, most of the guests were from Imani's family or my acquaintances. From his side, only his widowed mother, 2 cousins, and the best man. The best man, I said. Reggie. He works with him at the same engineering company. Try talking to him carefully. Find out what he knows. After hanging up, I looked for Reggie on social media. I found his profile quickly. I sent him a short message. Reggie, this is Marcia, Imani's mom. Can we talk? It's important. He responded half an hour later. Sure, Mrs. Green. Is everything okay? I suggested coffee the next day. He accepted. That night was even worse than the previous one. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Jamal kissing that woman. I saw Imani smiling at the altar, having no idea she was marrying a liar. Friday morning, I dressed carefully. I wanted to appear calm, serene. I met Reggie at a coffee shop downtown. Near his office. He arrived punctually, wearing a gray suit, briefcase in hand. He greeted me with a polite smile. "Mrs. Green, good to see you. How's Imani?" "She's fine." I sat down and went straight to the point. I didn't have patience for small talk. "Reggie, I need to ask you some questions about Jamal, and I need you to be honest with me." His smile faltered. "Questions about what?" I took a deep breath. "Jamal is having an affair." Reggie paled. His eyes shifted to the table. The silence that followed said everything. "You know," I said quietly. "You know something." He ran his hair through his head, visibly uncomfortable. "Mrs. Green, I don't know if I should—" "Reggie." My voice came out harder than I intended. "My daughter has been married to him for 4 months. If there's something I should know, tell me now." He sighed deeply and looked around as if checking that no one was listening. Then he leaned forward and spoke quietly. "Jamal has a relationship with a woman named Serena. She's also married. It's complicated." My stomach turned. "For how long?" "More than a year. Maybe 2. I'm not sure." Reggie seemed genuinely distressed. "Mrs. Green, I told him it was wrong to marry Imani while maintaining that, but he said he was going to end it with Serena after the wedding, that he needed to stabilize first." "Stabilize," I repeated, the bitterness evident in my voice. "You mean collect the wedding gifts?" Reggie looked down. "I don't want to believe it's that, but I don't know. Jamal was always very focused on money, on status. And you remained his best man, despite knowing this?" I didn't know what to do. Reggie seemed desperate. "He's been my friend for years. I thought he would change, that marriage would make him mature. And Imani looks so happy." I stood up abruptly. The chairs screeched against the floor. "Imani is happy because she's living a lie. My daughter deserved the truth, and you stayed silent." "Mrs. Green, please." But I was already leaving. I had nothing more to say to him. Reggie was complicit through omission. He knew and did nothing. In the car, my mind was at war. Part of me wanted to call Imani immediately. Another part feared destroying her happiness. But it was false happiness, an illusion built on lies and betrayal. I decided that before telling Imani, I needed to confront Jamal. He deserved to know that I knew. He deserved the chance to explain himself, although I couldn't imagine any possible explanation for those photos. I sent him a message. "Jamal, I need to talk to you alone. It's urgent." The response came 15 minutes later. "Did something happen with Imani?" "No. It's about you. Tomorrow at 10 in the morning at my apartment. Don't mention anything to her." There was a long pause. Then, "Okay." I spent all of Saturday mentally preparing for the confrontation. I rehearsed what I would say, how I would show the photos, how I would demand the truth. But when Jamal rang the bell at exactly 10 o'clock, all my preparation evaporated. He entered with that easy smile he always used with me. "Good morning, Marcia. Sorry for the mystery, but your message left me worried. Is everything okay?" I closed the door and faced him. "Sit down." Something in my tone made his smile disappear. He sat on the sofa, tense. I took the laptop, already with the photos open, and placed it on the coffee table in front of him. "Explain this." Jamal looked at the screen. I saw the exact moment when he recognized the image. His eyes widened. His face lost color. He opened and closed his mouth several times without being able to speak. Where did you get that?" "Answer my question. Who is she?" He ran his hand over his face. His shoulders dropped. For a moment, I thought he was going to deny it, to invent some cheap excuse. But to my surprise, he said, "It's Serena." The name Reggie had mentioned. The confirmation made my chest tighten even more. And you were with her 2 hours before marrying my daughter? Jamal didn't respond, just stared at his own hands. 2 hours. My voice rose. You kissed another woman, a married woman, and then went to the altar to swear to love Imani. How can you do something like that? I love Imani, he said quietly. I let out a bitter laugh. You have a very strange way of showing love. Finally, he looked at me. There was something different in his eyes now, something cold. You don't understand. My relationship with Serena is complicated. I needed to get married, needed to take that step in my life. Imani is perfect for that. She's stable, hardworking, reliable. Perfect for that, I repeated. As if my daughter were an asset in an investment portfolio. And the money? The $8,200 in gifts? Was that why you married her? Jamal didn't deny it, just looked away. And in that silence, I found my answer. Get out of my house, I said, my voice trembling with rage. Marcia, wait! Get out! He stood up quickly and headed for the door, but before leaving, he turned around. What are you going to do? What I should have done from the beginning. I'm going to tell Imani everything. His face hardened. That will destroy her. No, you're the one destroying her. I'm just going to stop the destruction from continuing. Jamal left without saying anything more. I heard his hurried steps in the hallway, the sound of the elevator. When silence returned, I collapsed on the sofa. My daughter. How was I going to tell this to my daughter? After Jamal left, I sat on the sofa for almost an hour trying to gather strength. The laptop was still on the table, the photos of his betrayal exposed on the screen. I closed the device with a sharp click. I needed to tell Imani. But how? How do you destroy the world of someone you love more than anything? I took my cell phone and called her. It rang 4 times before she answered. Hi, Mom. Everything okay? The joy in her voice broke my heart. Sweetheart, I need to talk to you in person. Can you come home now? Now? Mom, it's Saturday. Jamal and I were gonna go out to... It's important, Imani. Very important. Please. There must have been something in my tone that alerted her. She was quiet for an instant. Is everything okay? Are you sick? I'm not sick, but I need to talk to you urgently, alone. Okay, I'll be there in half an hour. I hung up and went to the kitchen to prepare coffee. My hands trembled as I measured the ground coffee. What was I going to say? How do you start a conversation like that? There was no easy way. Imani arrived in 20 minutes. She had always been punctual. She knocked on the door and entered with that energy she had always had. My vibrant daughter, with a wide smile, hair pulled back in a ponytail, wearing jeans and a floral blouse. Mom, you scared me. She hugged me. What happened? I led her to the sofa. I served coffee for both of us, but neither touched the cup. Imani watched me with growing concern. Mom, tell me already. You're making me nervous. I took a deep breath. There was no way to soften this. Imani, your wedding photographer called me this week. He found something in the photos. Something you need to see. Something in the photos? What would that be? I took the laptop and opened the images again. I turned the screen toward her. This. Imani leaned forward to see better. I watched her expression change. Confusion, then recognition, then absolute shock. She put her hand to her mouth. That's Jamal. Yes, 2 hours before the ceremony with a woman named Serena. Imani took the laptop from my hands and enlarged the photo. Her eyes scanned every detail. The kiss, the embrace, the obvious intimacy. She moved to the next photo and the next. When she finished viewing all of them, she put the laptop back on the table with excessive care, as if it were made of glass. No, it can't be true. It is true, sweetheart. The metadata proves it. Date, time, location. And I spoke with Reggie. He confirmed it. Jamal has been having an affair with this woman for over a year. Amani shook her head. No, Reggie is lying. The photographer manipulated the photos. This is Amani. I held her hand. I confronted Jamal this morning. He admitted it. He said he loves you, but that his relationship with Serena is complicated. His words, not mine. I saw the exact moment when the truth penetrated her defenses. Her eyes filled with tears, her face contorted. He knew? She let go of my hand and stood up abruptly. He was with her before marrying me? Yes. And he went to the altar anyway? He swore to love me forever, knowing he was lying. Yes. Amani began pacing back and forth, hands in her hair. I can't believe it. I can't believe he did this to me, that he... Her voice broke. The tears finally rolled. I stood up and hugged her. She collapsed in my arms, sobbing. We stayed like that for several minutes, me holding my daughter while her world crumbled. Why, Mom? Why would he do something like that? I loved him. I love him. I did everything right. I was a good wife. Why wasn't I enough? It's not about you, sweetheart. It's about him, about the wrong choices he made. She pulled away, wiping her face with the back of her hand. I need to talk to him. I need to hear it from his mouth. Amani. I need it, Mom. I need to understand. She took her purse and left before I could stop her. I heard the door slam shut, her quick steps in the hallway. I stood there alone, the coffee cooling on the table, the photos still open on the laptop. What had I done? Should I have handled things differently? Prepared the ground better? But there was no good way to give news like that. There was no gentle way to destroy an illusion. Amani didn't answer my calls for the rest of the day. I sent messages that went unanswered. At night, when I was about to call the police, she finally responded, I'm fine. We'll talk tomorrow. I slept little that night. Sunday morning, Amani appeared at my door at 8. She looked like she hadn't slept at all. Red, swollen eyes, messy hair, wrinkled clothes. She entered without saying anything and threw herself on the sofa. I waited. I confronted him, she finally said, her voice hoarse. Yesterday afternoon. I showed him the photos, told him what you told me, and he admitted everything. He said he's been with Serena for 2 years, that she's married, has 2 children, and can't leave her husband. So he decided to marry me to have a stable life while maintaining the affair.
The cruelty of that hit me speechless. And there's more, Imani continued, now looking directly at me. The wedding gifts, the $8,200, he already transferred $4,700 to an account I didn't even know existed. A joint account in his name and Serena's. My blood boiled. He robbed you. Not just me, everyone who gave gifts, our friends, our family. He used our wedding as a scheme to raise money. She laughed, a bitter and broken sound, and I was foolish enough not to realize it. You're not foolish. You trusted him. There's nothing wrong with that. There's everything wrong. She stood up, her voice rising. How did I not see it? How did I not realize he was like this? What signs did I miss? I held her shoulders. Imani, look at me. This isn't your fault.
Jamal is the one who chose to lie, chose to betray, chose to steal. None of that is on you." She collapsed again, crying. I spent all of Sunday with her. We talked, we cried, we made plans. By the end of the afternoon, Imani had made a decision. "I'm going to divorce him. I want that man out of my life as soon as possible. I support you completely, and we're going to recover that money." "How? He already transferred everything." "We're going to find a lawyer. Those transfers were made with wedding gift money, money that was given for both of you. He had no right to move anything without your consent. There's legal precedent for that." Monday morning, I scheduled a consultation with attorney Vanessa Crowell, a family law specialist that a friend recommended. I took Imani with me. Vanessa received us in an elegant office downtown with a view of the harbor. We told her everything: the photos, the betrayal, the 2-year affair, the transferred money. Vanessa took notes, her face impassive, professional. "Ladies," she said when we finished, "you have a strong case, very strong. The photos are evidence of adultery. The unauthorized transfers constitute embezzlement. We can initiate a contested divorce and ask for not only the return of the money, but also compensation for moral damages." "How long will it take?" Imani asked. "It depends. If he doesn't contest, a few months. If he contests, it could take over a year. But with the evidence you have, he'd be foolish to contest." We signed the contract that same day. Vanessa began preparing the paperwork immediately. Divorce proceedings with request for return of funds and moral damages. When we left the office, Imani seemed different. Still devastated, still hurt, but with a glint of determination in her eyes that wasn't there before. "Mom, thank you for discovering the truth, for telling me even knowing it would hurt me, for being here with me." I hugged my daughter, right there on the sidewalk, not caring about the people passing around us. "I'll always be with you, sweetheart. Always." In the following days, things happened quickly. Vanessa initiated the divorce proceedings. Jamal was served. He tried calling Imani dozens of times, but she blocked his number. He tried showing up at the apartment, but she changed the locks. News of the divorce spread fast. Friends called confused, wanting to know what had happened. Imani didn't go into details, just said it hadn't worked out. I did the same when asked, but the truth has a way of filtering through.
2 weeks after initiating the proceedings, I received a call from an unknown number. This time, I answered. "Hello? Marcia?" A female voice I didn't recognize. "My name is Serena. I think we need to talk." Her name caught me by surprise. Serena, the blonde woman from the photos, Jamal's mistress. For a moment, I considered hanging up, but curiosity won. "How did you get my number?" "From Jamal." Her voice sounded tired, maybe nervous. "I know you must hate me, but please, give me 5 minutes, just that." I looked around my empty living room. Imani was at work. I had time. "Talk." Serena sighed on the other end. "First, I want you to know that I didn't know he was using your wedding to get money. Not until last week, when he told me about the divorce, about the transfers. I was horrified. You've been together for 2 years, and you didn't find it strange that he married someone else?" "Yes, I found it strange, of course I did. But he said he needed to do it, that his family was pressuring him, that it was important for his career. He said it was just a formality, that the real love was ours." I almost laughed at her naivety, or her dishonesty. It was hard to know which. "And you believed him?" "I wanted to believe. My marriage has been bad for years. My husband and I are just roommates. No love, no connection. Jamal made me feel alive again, so I closed my eyes to the red flags." "Why are you calling me, Serena?" There was a long pause. "Because I discovered something. Something I think you and your daughter need to know." My stomach tightened. "What?"
Jamal didn't just transfer the money to our joint account. He moved almost everything to an offshore account in the Cayman Islands. $3,800. He's planning to disappear with everything. I sat heavily in the chair. How do you know that? I saw the documents. He left his laptop open at his place. I saw the bank statements, the international transfers, everything. And when I confronted him, he admitted it. He said he was going to disappear after the divorce, start a new life somewhere else.
Why are you telling me this? You're his mistress. You should be protecting him. Her voice broke. Because I was deceived, too. He told me the money was for both of us, to build a life together when I could get divorced. But the truth is, he was lying to everyone. Your daughter, me, everyone. And I don't want to be an accomplice to that. I didn't know if I could believe her completely, but the information was too serious to ignore. Do you have proof? Copies of those documents? I do. I took photos of everything. I can send them to you right now. Send them. Seconds later, my phone vibrated with a sequence of images. I opened them one by one. They were bank statements, international transfer receipts, offshore account opening documents, all in Jamal's name. Did you receive them? Serena asked. I got them. I'm forwarding them to my daughter's lawyer immediately. Marcia, I'm truly sorry for what I did, for my part in all this. I know it doesn't change anything, but I need you to know. I didn't know he was like this, a con artist, a liar. You may not have known everything, Serena, but you knew you were betraying your family. You knew he was betraying my daughter, so don't come looking for absolution from me. I hung up before she could respond. My hands were shaking with rage. Jamal wasn't just a cheater. He was a criminal. He was planning to flee with the wedding money, leaving Imani with nothing. I immediately called Vanessa. I explained about Serena's call, about the offshore accounts, about the photos I had received. Send everything now, Vanessa said, her voice sharp. This completely changes the case. He's hiding assets, trying to defraud the process. I'm going to request immediate judicial freezing of all his accounts, and I'm going to notify the competent authorities. This could become a criminal case. I forwarded all the images to her email. Then I called Imani at work. Mom, I can't talk now. I'm in a meeting. It's about Jamal. It's urgent. I heard noise on the other side. Then she said, give me a minute. Footsteps, a door closing. What happened? I told her about Serena's call, about the money in the Cayman Islands, about Jamal's plan to disappear. Imani was quiet for so long, I thought the call had dropped. Sweetheart, are you there? I'm here. Her voice sounded hollow. I just can't believe it. Every day I discover a new layer of lies. Who is this man? Because clearly he's not who I thought I knew. Nobody really knew him. He's a manipulator, a con artist. Can Vanessa do something? She's already doing it. She's going to request freezing of the accounts and notify the authorities. Jamal won't be able to flee with that money. I hope not, because if he succeeds, Mom, that money isn't just mine. It's gifts that our friends and family gave in good faith. People who saved to help us, and he stole from all of them. After hanging up, I sat thinking about everything that had happened in recent days. From the photographer's call until now, my life and Imani's had been turned upside down. But in the middle of all this chaos, there was something good. The truth had come to light, Jamal had been exposed, and now, with evidence of the offshore accounts, he wouldn't be able to escape the consequences. Vanessa worked fast. The next day, she got a court order that froze all of Jamal's accounts, both domestic and international. He couldn't move a single cent without a court order. Jamal, desperate, tried calling Imani again. When he couldn't reach her, he called me. I answered just to hear what he had to say. Marcia, for the love of God, you have to stop this. Your lawyer froze everything. I can't even pay my bills. You should have thought about that before stealing $4,700 and trying to flee the country. I wasn't going to flee. Who told you that? Serena, she's lying because I broke up with her.
You have the proof. Jamal, photos of bank statements, offshore account documents, everything. Silence on the other end. Then, I didn't understand. I needed that money. I have debts, many debts. I was desperate. So you used my daughter. You pretended to love her. You married her knowing you were going to betray and steal. All for debts. I do love Imani, really, but what, Jamal? But you loved the money more, Serena more, yourself more? He hung up. I had no more news from him for a week, but Vanessa did. He tried to negotiate through his lawyer, return part of the money in exchange for Imani dropping the moral damages claim. Vanessa refused. We wanted everything back, and we wanted justice. The case moved forward. With the evidence we had, the photos of betrayal, the bank statements, the unauthorized transfers, Imani's case was ironclad. Jamal's lawyer knew it. 3 weeks after initiating the divorce, they proposed a settlement. Jamal would return the full $8,200 plus $3,000 in compensation for moral damages. The divorce would be consensual, uncontested, and he would sign an agreement promising never to try to contact Imani again. Vanessa called us to discuss the proposal. It's a good deal. You recover all the money plus significant compensation, and you resolve everything quickly without dragging this through months or years. Imani was with me when we received the call. I looked at her. What do you think, sweetheart? She bit her lip thoughtfully. Is he admitting guilt with this agreement? Implicitly, yes, Vanessa responded. By returning the money and paying damages, he's acknowledging he acted wrongly. Then I accept. I want this to end. I want him out of my life once and for all.
We signed the agreement the following week. Jamal transferred the $11,200 in a single operation. Imani saw the money hit her account, and for the first time in weeks, she smiled. It's over, she said. Finally, it's over. But I knew it wasn't quite like that. The money had returned, yes. The divorce was on track. But the scars that Jamal left on Imani, on her confidence, on her ability to believe in relationships, those would take much longer to heal. The divorce was finalized 2 months later. Imani was officially free. But free didn't mean healed. She moved back in with me temporarily. She said she couldn't stay alone in the apartment, that every corner reminded her of Jamal, the plans they had made, the life she thought they were going to build together. She rented out the place and brought only the essentials, some clothes, books, personal objects. At first, it was difficult. Imani cried a lot. There were days she wouldn't leave her room. Others when she'd wake up furious, breaking things, screaming about how Jamal had destroyed everything. I let her vent. It was part of the healing process. Gradually, the crises became less frequent. Imani returned to taking interest in work. She started going out with her girlfriends again. She began therapy, which helped enormously. Her therapist helped her process not just Jamal's betrayal, but also the fact that she had been the victim of an elaborate scam. It wasn't your fault, I repeated every time she blamed herself. You loved truly. You were honest. He's the one who chose to lie. One Thursday afternoon, 3 months after the divorce, Imani came into the kitchen where I was preparing dinner. She was holding her phone, her face pale. Mom, did you see this? She showed me the screen. It was an Instagram post. The photo showed Jamal smiling next to Serena, the blonde woman from the photos. They were both on a beach, embracing, with captions about new beginnings and true love. She went back to him, Imani said, her voice trembling. After everything, after she called me, after giving evidence against him, she went back. I looked at the photo. Jamal seemed thinner, maybe stressed, but he was smiling. No remorse, no guilt, just moving on as if nothing had happened. They deserve each other, I said. 2 lying manipulators, perfect together. But it makes me angry, Mom. He destroyed my life, and he's there happy as if nothing happened? Where's the justice in that?
I held her face with both hands. The justice, sweetheart, is that you're free. Free from a man who would have made you miserable for the rest of your life. Free to find someone who truly deserves you. That's justice. Imani hugged me, and we stayed like that for a while. When she pulled away, she dried her eyes and smiled. A small smile, still fragile, but real. The following months brought positive changes. Imani received a promotion at work. She started practicing yoga. She made new friends. Slowly, piece by piece, she was rebuilding her life. I changed too. The whole experience taught me things about myself I didn't know. I learned I had more strength than I imagined, that I was capable of facing difficult situations without falling apart, that protecting my daughter was my absolute priority, no matter the cost. I also developed a closer relationship with Imani. Before, we were mother and daughter with superficial conversations, work, weather, recipes. Now we talked about real things, fears, dreams, frustrations, hopes. The crisis brought us together in a way that years of normalcy hadn't achieved. 6 months after the divorce, on a quiet Saturday afternoon, my phone rang. Unknown number, again. This time, I didn't hesitate to answer. "Hello, Mrs. Green," a formal male voice. "My name is Detective Aaron Blackwell from the Baltimore Police Department. I'm investigating a fraud case related to Mr. Jamal Turner. Do you have a few minutes to talk?" My heart sped up. "Yes, of course. Are you aware that Mr. Turner applied a scam at your daughter's wedding?" "Yes, we sued him. He returned the money through a settlement." "I understand, but what you may not know is that you weren't the only victims. We've received 3 other complaints from women who were in relationships with Mr. Turner. He applied the same scam, pretended to be in love, asked for money for investments or emergencies, then disappeared." I was stunned. 3 other women. "Yes, ma'am. One of them lost $18,000, another $12,000, the third $9,000. He's a professional con artist. He used romantic relationships as a way to obtain money from victims." I thought about Imani, how she had felt special, chosen, loved, and it was all just a rehearsed farce, a script that Jamal repeated with each new victim. "What do you need from me, Detective?" "Your testimony and any evidence you have. Messages, photos, financial documents. Everything helps build the case against him." "I have everything, and my daughter does too. When do you want us to come in?" "Can I schedule for Monday at 10 in the morning?" "We'll be there." When I told Imani, she was shocked. Other women? He did this to other people? Yes, several, and he probably would have continued doing it if he hadn't been exposed. Imani sat heavily. So I wasn't even special to him. I was just another one, another target. "Don't think like that. You are special. You always were. He's the one who was worthless, and now he's going to pay for what he did." Monday, we went to the police station. Detective Blackwell received us in a small room with gray walls and a metal table. We spent 2 hours giving detailed testimonies. Imani told about the relationship, the wedding, discovering the betrayal. I spoke about Kendrick's photos, about Serena's call, about the offshore accounts. Blackwell took notes, recorded everything, asked for clarifications. When we finished, he turned off the recorder and said, "Ladies, you just provided crucial evidence. With this and what the other victims gave us, we have a solid case. The district attorney will file charges for multiple fraud. Jamal Turner is going to answer criminally." "Can he go to prison?" Imani asked. "He can. If convicted, the penalty for aggravated fraud is 4 to 8 years imprisonment, and with multiple victims, the sentence can be increased." We left the station with a strange feeling. Not exactly happiness, but something close to justice. Jamal wasn't just going to lose money or reputation. He was going to answer to the law for his crimes. Weeks later, the district attorney filed charges against Jamal. He was indicted for 4 counts of fraud. The news appeared in local newspapers. Man arrested after applying love scams to multiple women. Imani received messages from people she knew offering support. Some said they always found Jamal strange. Others admitted they never suspected. It didn't matter. What mattered was that the truth had come to light. The trial was scheduled for 6 months out. Vanessa, our lawyer, told us the chances of conviction were high, given the evidence. "You did the right thing by reporting," she told us, "not just for yourselves, but for all the other women he could have hurt in the future." The months leading up to the trial were strange. Imani tried to move forward with her life, but Jamal's shadow still hung over us. He tried to contact her a few times through unknown numbers, fake social media profiles. Imani blocked everything immediately. Once he showed up at my building's entrance. The doorman called asking if he could let him up. I categorically refused and asked him to call security if Jamal didn't leave. He left, but the invasion, however small, left us nervous for days. "He's never going to stop, is he?" Imani asked, frustrated. "He'll stop when he's arrested," I said firmly. I had to believe that. I had to believe that justice would be done. During that time, I met 2 of the other victims. Detective Blackwell put us in contact, thinking it might be therapeutic to talk. One of them, Monique, was 51 years old and had lost $12,000, her life savings. Jamal had met her on a dating app, courted her for months, asked for money for a guaranteed investment, then disappeared. The other, Sasha, was 37. She lost $9,000 that she had saved to buy an apartment. Jamal had used exactly the same story. Investment, quick return, unique opportunity. She never saw the money again. We met at a coffee shop downtown. Initially, there was tension. 3 women who didn't know each other, united only by the misfortune of having crossed paths with a con artist. But gradually, the conversation flowed. "He made me feel special," said Monique, stirring her coffee without drinking it. "After years alone, I thought I had finally found someone." "You weren't foolish," I said. "You were human. You trusted. You loved. There's nothing wrong with that." Sasha agreed. He was convincing. He knew exactly what to say, how to act. He had an answer for everything. When I started to suspect, he made me feel guilty for not trusting him. Imani had been quiet, listening. Finally, she spoke. "I married him. I made vows. I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with him, and it was all a lie." Imani took Imani's hand. "But you survived. All of us survived, and now he's going to pay." That afternoon created a bond between us. We exchanged numbers, we created a WhatsApp group, we became unlikely friends, united by pain but also by strength. Each of us had lost something: money, time, trust. But we had also gained something: the certainty that we weren't alone. The day of the trial finally arrived. It was a cold Tuesday in March. Imani, Monique, Sasha, and I arrived at the courthouse together. Vanessa was there giving us instructions about what to expect. "The prosecutor has solid evidence. You'll give testimony if necessary. The defense attorney will try to discredit you, but stay calm. Tell the truth. That's all you need to do." We entered the courtroom. It was smaller than I had imagined. Rows of wooden benches, a table for the judge, another for the parties. Jamal was already there, sitting next to his lawyer. When he saw us, his face paled. It was the first time Imani had seen him since the day she confronted him about the betrayal. I felt her tense beside me. I held her hand. "You can handle this," I whispered. The judge entered, and everyone stood. He was a man of about 60, gray hair, stern expression. He banged the gavel, and the session began. The prosecutor presented the case, read the charges: 4 counts of fraud, aggravated fraud, asset concealment. He explained Jamal's modus operandi: meet women, seduce them, gain trust, ask for money, disappear, or, in Imani's case, use marriage as a form of fundraising.
The defense attorney argued that everything was misunderstandings, that Jamal had indeed borrowed money, but with intention to return it, that the marriage with Imani was legitimate, based on love, and that the subsequent problems didn't constitute a crime. It was a weak attempt. The evidence against Jamal was overwhelming. Monique was called to testify first. She told her story with a firm voice, detailing each of Jamal's lies, each manipulation. The defense attorney tried to suggest that she had given the money voluntarily, not as a loan. Monique stood firm. He said he would return it in 3 months with interest. I have the messages that prove it. It was a loan, not a gift, and he never intended to return it. Sasha was next. Her story was similar. Jamal had used exactly the same tactics, the same excuses. It became clear that he had a script, a pattern. Then it was Imani's turn. She stood up and walked to the witness stand. Her voice trembled at first, but gained strength as she spoke. She told about meeting Jamal, the courtship, the engagement, the wedding that cost $12,000, the $8,200 in gifts, discovering the photos of betrayal taken 2 hours before the ceremony. He didn't love me, Imani said, looking directly at Jamal. I was a means to an end, a way to get money, just like the other women here. She paused, her voice growing stronger. He used my feelings, my trust, and turned the most important day of my life into a fraud. Jamal's lawyer tried to counter-argue, suggesting that betrayal didn't prove criminal intent. The prosecutor intervened, reminding that the unauthorized transfers to offshore accounts, combined with the pattern of behavior with other victims, clearly demonstrated premeditation and criminal intent. I wasn't called to testify, but Vanessa presented my written testimony along with the photos that Kendrick had taken. The judge examined everything carefully. After the testimonies came the final arguments. The prosecutor was incisive, painting Jamal as a predator who took advantage of vulnerable women using romantic relationships as a way to commit financial crimes. The defense attorney tried to humanize Jamal by talking about financial difficulties, family pressures, but it sounded hollow against the pile of evidence. The judge announced he would give the sentence in 15 days. He banged the gavel, and the session was adjourned. Outside the courthouse, the 4 victims and Vanessa gathered. We were exhausted, but also relieved. We had done our part. Now it was time to wait. How do you think the sentence will be? Sasha asked. With the evidence we have, it would be a surprise if he wasn't convicted, but you never know for certain. Judges are unpredictable. Imani was quiet, staring at the courthouse building. I just want this to end, for him to stay away from me, for him not to be able to do this to anyone else. It's going to end, I promised. Soon. The 15 days of waiting were torturous. Every morning I woke up thinking about the sentence. Every night I went to bed imagining scenarios. Jamal being acquitted on some technicality, Jamal being sentenced to a light penalty, Jamal managing to flee. My mind wouldn't rest. Imani tried to maintain her routine, but I could see the anxiety in her eyes. She compulsively checked her phone, waiting for Vanessa's call. She lost a few pounds. She had trouble sleeping again. What if he's not convicted? She asked me one night while we were having tea in the kitchen. What if the judge believes his story? What if nothing happens? Don't think about that. The evidence is clear. The pattern of behavior is documented. 4 women with identical stories. He's going to pay, sweetheart. He has to pay. On the 13th day, Vanessa called. The sentence comes out tomorrow at 2 in the afternoon. Do you want to be present? Yes, I responded without hesitation. We'll be there. That night, I barely slept. I tossed and turned in bed, staring at the ceiling, praying. I'm not very religious, but at that moment, I asked
God or the universe or whatever force existed to deliver justice. The next morning, Imani came into my room early. "Mom, I'm scared." I sat up in bed and opened my arms. She came and lay beside me like she did when she was a child and had nightmares. We stayed like that for several minutes in silence. "No matter what happens today," I finally said, "you already won. You survived, you rebuilt yourself, you're stronger than ever. The sentence is just a detail." "It doesn't feel like a detail." "I know, but it is, because your life no longer depends on him. You're free. Nobody can take that away from you." We dressed carefully. Imani wore a navy blue suit. I wore a white blouse and black pants. We wanted to look respectable, serious. We wanted the judge to see that we were dignified people who deserved justice. Monique and Sasha met us at the courthouse entrance. They were as nervous as we were. Vanessa arrived minutes later, briefcase in hand, confident posture. "Ready?" We entered together. The courtroom was fuller this time. Journalists occupied some benches. The case had attracted local media attention, the heartbreak scammer, as some outlets called him. Jamal was there again, but he looked different. Thinner, unshaven, sunken eyes. The months since the trial hadn't been kind to him. The judge sat down, adjusted his glasses, and began reading the sentence. His voice was monotone, technical, reading fragments of the law, citing jurisprudence. I could barely process the words. I was just waiting for the verdict. Then he reached the crucial point. "Given the evidence presented, including consistent testimonies from 4 victims, documentary evidence of fraudulent transfers, and clear pattern of criminal behavior, this court finds that the defendant Jamal Turner has committed the crimes of aggravated fraud on 4 separate occasions." I held Imani's hand. She squeezed mine back. The judge continued. "Considering the gravity of the facts, the harm caused to the victims, and the evident premeditation, I sentence the defendant to 6 years imprisonment in initially closed regime, in addition to payment of compensation to the victims for material and moral damages caused." 6 years. He was going to be imprisoned. Really? Jamal's lawyer tried to ask for the floor, probably to appeal or request reduction of the sentence, but the judge banged the gavel. "The session is concluded. The defendant will be taken into custody immediately." 2 bailiffs approached Jamal. I saw the moment when reality hit him. Wide eyes, pale face, trembling hands. He looked at Imani one last time, not with remorse, but with something that seemed like desperation. Imani returned the look, her face impassive. She said nothing, just watched as the officers put handcuffs on his wrists and led him out of the room. When the door closed behind him, something changed in the air, as if an invisible weight had been lifted. I breathed deeply for the first time in hours. "It's over," Vanessa said, smiling. "You did it." Monique began to cry. Sasha hugged her. Imani stood staring at the door where Jamal had exited. "Sweetheart." I touched her shoulder. She turned to me. There were tears in her eyes, but also something else. Relief. Peace. "It's really over, Mom. Finally, it's over." We left the courthouse under the bright afternoon sun. Journalists surrounded us, asking questions. Vanessa politely pushed them aside, saying we would make a brief statement. Imani stepped forward. "I want other women to know that it's possible to seek justice. It's possible to survive. Men like Jamal count on our silence, our shame. But when we speak, when we report, when we support each other, they lose their power." It was a short but powerful statement. The journalists wrote everything down. Some cameras filmed. Afterwards, the 4 victims, now survivors, hugged in a circle there on the sidewalk. Women of different ages and backgrounds, united by trauma, but also by strength. Thank you, said Monique, for reporting, for not giving up, for giving us the courage to do the same. We thank you, Imani responded. Alone, maybe we wouldn't have succeeded, but together we were unstoppable. We said goodbye with promises to stay in touch, to support each other. And we kept those promises. The WhatsApp group we created remained active. We would meet occasionally for coffee. We were an unlikely sisterhood, but genuine. On the way home, Imani was quiet. I drove in silence, giving her space to process. When we parked at the building, she finally spoke. Mom, thank you for believing in me, for protecting me, for discovering the truth even knowing it would hurt me, for being by my side through every step of this horrible journey. Her voice broke. I don't know what I would have done without you. I held her face. You're my daughter. I'll always fight for you. Always. That night, for the first time in months, Imani slept without nightmares. So did I. 3 months passed since the sentence. Life returned to a normal routine, or as normal as possible after everything that happened. Imani decided not to return to the apartment she had rented. She sold the place and used the money along with the compensation she received from Jamal to buy a new one. Smaller, cozier, in a neighborhood she always wanted. A complete restart. She invited me to see the apartment the day she picked up the keys. It was on the 4th floor of a small building with a view of the city. 2 bedrooms, spacious living room, modern kitchen. Simple, but perfect for her. What did you think, Mom? I thought it was beautiful. It's very you. She smiled, that genuine smile I hadn't seen for so long. It's mine. Only mine. No bad memories, no lies, just mine. I helped her decorate. We chose furniture together, paintings for the walls, plants for the balcony. Each item was an affirmation of independence, of reconstruction. Imani also made professional changes. She requested a transfer to another branch of the real estate company where she worked, in a different neighborhood. She wanted distance from anything that reminded her of Jamal, including the places they used to go together. As for me, I discovered a strength I didn't know I had. For months, I was the pillar for Imani, the strong person, the one who didn't waver. But when everything calmed down, when she was safe and moving forward, I realized I also had scars from this experience. I began therapy too. I needed to process the anger I felt, the fear that something like this could happen again, the irrational guilt for not having realized who Jamal was before. My therapist helped me understand that there was nothing I could have done differently. Jamal was an experienced manipulator. He deceived everyone. Today, a year after that fateful call from the photographer, I look back and see the path we traveled. It was painful. It was difficult. There were moments when I thought Imani wouldn't recover, moments when I doubted whether we had done the right thing by exposing everything. But we did, and it was worth it. Thanks for staying with me until the end. I've left 2 more stories on the screen. Which one's calling your name?